Right, let me see what's going on here. There's been some significant developments since I saw you last. You were talking about undercover police on the other side attacking this protest. The protesters here have been capturing some of the people on the other side, and those people have been found with police IDs on them. I was actually shown one police ID. That's conclusive evidence. The other thing is that I don't know if it's the army, if it's the other side. Somebody is using tear gas against this crowd repeatedly. But I guess the most important thing is that at least two people, have been found with government IDs and have been arrested by the crowd. I've seen a lot more people than that being arrested, having citizens' arrests made on them. But those two had government IDs, police IDs on them. There was also a woman who came to the back of the crowd, I was told, and they said they found government, I don't know whether it was literature or IDs on her. She was acting, I believe, as a spy for the police. It's coming out as a very coordinated operation. The situation.
Well, Egypt's main opposition group, the Muslim Brotherhood, has slammed President Hosni Mubarak's offer to leave office at the end of his term. Muslim Brotherhood says there's no alternative for Mubarak but to stand down immediately. Opposition figures say his concession comes too late. Meanwhile, Muslim Brotherhood has demanded that Egypt's Chief Justice of a Constitutional Court, Farouk Ahmed Sultan, be nominated as an interim presidential candidate.
In other news, Israeli warplanes have again attacked the Gaza Strip. This time, the southern town of Rafah was targeted. An Israeli jet fired a missile at a tunnel used by Gazans to transfer vital goods from Egypt. No injuries have so far been reported. Israel regularly carries out attacks on the impoverished Strip. Tel Aviv waged a massive war on Gaza 2 years ago, killing more than 1,400 Palestinians.
Well, the Federal Bureau of Investigation has committed thousands of privacy-related violations in collecting intelligence since 9/11, according to documents obtained by the Electronic Frontier Foundation Privacy Advocate Group. Colin Campbell now explains.
In the nation's capital, it's not uncommon to have the feeling that Big Brother's watching.
We're living in that particular type of society today. We have the technology and we have the means to do just what you indicated right there.
But many Americans may not realize just how much. A recent report from the Electronic Frontier Foundation says the Federal Bureau of Investigation made thousands of violations in intelligence gathering. The discovery comes from an analysis of 2,500 pages of documents obtained through the Freedom of Information Act. The EFF says the documents show a disregard for privacy of the average citizen, civil liberties, and oversight.
Until I see like dudes in suits kind of peeking out behind trees and stuff like that, I don't really believe in it.
The FBI would not grant an on-camera interview, but it released this statement. The number of times the FBI violates anyone's substantive rights during our national security investigations is very small. In the rare instance where such a violation occurs, the violation is taken very seriously. Actual and potential violations have declined in recent years. From 2001 to 2008, the FBI reported to the Intelligence Oversight Board approximately 800 violations of laws, executive orders, or other regulations governing intelligence investigations. The report over FBI violations raises fears over invasion of privacy, but the concerns don't stop there. Electronic privacy experts say when companies say they're keeping information private, it's not always confidential. In fact, the opposite tends to be true. Ginger McCall is an expert on electronic privacy who has been following this case.
What we're seeing here is a profound lack of oversight on the front end. There's oversight somewhat on the back end, but what we need to have is oversight on the front end.
In the worst situations, the EFF report says the FBI used information to obtain federal grand jury subpoenas and access password-protected documents without a warrant, all done under the Patriot Act, a law passed in 2001 that eased restrictions on intelligence gathering after 9/11.
These are letters that were authorized by the Patriot Act. They basically allow the government to make a request for information from a company regarding user information without ever having to go through any sort of judicial oversight on the front end.
Privacy experts are calling for reform of the Patriot Act, which is set to expire by the end of February. Colin Campbell, Press TV, Washington.
Chairperson of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, Audronius Azubalis, is visiting Moscow. He has held talks with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Svetlana Tikhomirova reports.
Russia is warning against outside pressure on Egypt. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov called on the Egyptian people and politicians to settle the political crisis on their own in a peaceful way.
We do not think that imposing any recipes from the outside would be useful. Political forces in Egypt themselves should seek consensus.
Lavrov made the statement at a joint press conference with his Lithuanian counterpart. Audronius Azubalis is visiting Moscow as chairman of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. The ministers discussed the OSCE priorities, on top of which is the settlement of frozen conflicts.
We need to make progress on protracted conflicts and strengthen the OSCE role in the sphere of transnational threats. First of all, Afghanistan, illegal drugs and people trafficking.
On the diplomats' agenda are ways to solve the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict.
We should take note of the draft proposed by Russia and other delegations on agreeing common principles for conflict settlement. They include the need for peaceful solutions, consideration of the sides' positions, averting humanitarian problems.
Nagorno-Karabakh has been a source of dispute between Azerbaijan and Armenia. The conflict, which erupted in 1988, claimed more than 30,000 lives on both sides. The region is internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan, although it has not ruled over most of the territory since 1991.
In order to make it possible, it is of course necessary to find the way how to live in one country for the two peoples that are very much different, of course. And it's necessary to solve the problem only just to respect each other.
The OSCE Minsk group, co-chaired by the US, France and Russia, has been mediating efforts to settle the conflict. During his 3 days in Moscow, Audronius Azubalis will also raise the issues of energy security and media freedom. He'll meet State Duma officials, human rights advocates, members of civil society and mass media. Svetlana Tikhomirova, Press TV, Moscow.